Hey there guys, welcome back to another episode of Misplaced Garage. Today I'm going to be continuing on the exhaust along with adding a couple new parts like this radiator fan that I picked up for pretty cheap, so I need to add that to it. I might end up ordering a second one so that I could have two, but I think one for now will work okay, at least until it gets really hot outside. I can always add a second one, so I'm gonna go with one for the moment, and then we'll see how long I can go. If it starts overheating or getting hot, which I don't think it will, then I'll add another one. Anyways, I've been waiting on this guy for a while now. I don't know what took so long, but something did. And this is a high flow catalytic converter. It's extremely nice, and it should help with sound along with exhaust smell. I don't know if there's a technique to opening these hoods or something, or maybe mine is just extremely misaligned, but it is a pain to open by yourself. Another thing is this is a drain bolt. This is not what I'm using this drain bolt for. It just happened to be the right size. This guy leaks coolant. This was the original thermostatic switch for the radiator fan in a Miata. I'm just gonna plug it and run the fan on a switch inside the cab, so I don't have to worry about that not working, so I know for sure the fan is on, basically. Got that replaced real quick. I threw some RTV on the thread so that it would seal it pretty much forever, because I don't intend on ever using that as like a fill plug or nothing like that. So, good to go there. I didn't buy a huge fan. I bought the fan that I thought would work. So, it's just a 12-inch fan is all that it is. It is designed for a radiator. It's got a couple of parts that I don't know if I'll actually use or not, but we'll see. It's not exactly a huge fan, but I do think it'll work okay. It pretty much uses the entire width of the radiator as like the up and down, obviously not the side to side. I want it kind of pointing at the header, so then that pushes header air kind of out of the way so that this intake isn't just sucking up that hot air. Either way, it'll kind of be hot air, but that is what it is. So I think I'll be able to use this big long piece of 1/8-inch steel. It's about 1 inch wide. And I'll be able to make some tabs. They go from the bolt hole up to here. Now I've kind of ended up with something that kind of looks like this. I could obviously adjust the angle of both of those if I turn it. So I'll just have to find the happy medium, and then I'll have to make some brackets down here as well. Maybe I'll just do a single bracket, I don't know. I don't think I need 3, but I'll be able to cut some shapes into this or something so that it's not just flat metal. So there's that. But that looks like that'll end up working out. I'm actually only going to be building 3 mounts because I don't see it necessary for having 4. 3 seems plenty strong. And this is a little tip that I've learned over the time of building things, is if you want 2 things to be identical, I know the bolt holes don't quite line up there, but if you're rounding corners or something and you want the piece of metal to be identical, vice grip them together and then use the grinder wheel obviously to make them the same, and that kind of makes it look consistent through the build. Alright, now I got to figure out how to get power to the fan. I have 2 of these 40 amp relays. I don't necessarily need 40, but it might be nice if I end up adding a second fan later on, so I won't have to double up on another or a bigger relay. I know one of these works. I think one of them is blown up, but one of them will work. I got some 12 gauge wire. This should be plenty because it says it'll do like 25 amps or 30 amps at 5 feet or 4 feet. This isn't very far, so This should be plenty. This will be about 30 amps, I'd say. And now I gotta figure out what part of the fuse or which fuse I can use to power the fan, because I'll have to get power for it. I don't have a power wire already ran, unfortunately. That's just the way it goes. What I did under the dash to wire it in is the painless kit came with an electric fan fuse. It's only 5 amps, so this is not a power fuse to the fan. So what I ended up doing was taking over the AC and heat, because I don't know if this car is ever gonna get either of those two. It'll probably get heat, but not AC, that's for sure. That's a lot of work to put into this car, and it's a drop top, so we'll leave that. But heat maybe later. I can always add another fuse somewhere in this fuse box or something to that effect. But I ran the power down from this AC and heat, so that's powering down here into the relay, and then from the other side of it I've got this orange wire wired out to the fan, and obviously I've got one of these grounded up here, and since this has the 5 amp fuse power, it's powering to the switch, and then from the switch, when it's turned on, it powers down here to the relay, and when I flick the switch, it powers the relay, which then powers the fan. Now the only thing left to do is to come over here to the fan and get it put in place, and then start wiring it with the power wire and a ground. Alright, this is going to work out 2 ways. It's not going to work at all, or it's going to work really good. I don't think I'm going to get any fires or anything like that, but I guess we'll see. Got the battery hooked up, got the fan wired in down here. These wires are kind of dangerously close to the harmonic balancer, but they are zip tied off, so I don't think that they'll go into it at any point, but it's something I'm going to keep an eye on. I'm not starting the car currently. I'm just going to try to get the electronics to function. Fuel pump works. Fan works. That's awesome. First try. Well, I'm pretty stoked that that worked the first time around, and it moves a good volume of air, in all honesty. Like, I can feel that fan. I can also feel the backside pulling air through, if you guys can hear me. It's not the noisiest fan, and it's not the loud, and it's not the quietest fan, you know? But it does, I think that will do the job. I'm not sure how much more airflow I'll need. Maybe one day I'll add another one, but I think that will be good enough for the moment. So, I picked up this piece, and it's actually just barely too small to slip over the end of this guy. Technically, this should be inside of it, but I don't really want to do that. I don't think that's the best option there, because I don't want to cut slits in the cat. So I'd rather slide this guy over the catalytic converter. It's incorrect airflow, but it'll be fine. Alrighty, well, I made this guy so that this would go over the top of that. Technically the flow will be reversed because the catalytic converter is going inside of this, but nonetheless I don't think it'll be that bad. I needed some larger clamps, so I ordered some larger ones. These are 2.25, so 2 1/4, and it should be able to tighten down on this after I cut a couple of grooves in it. And now I've got that guy mounted on there. It's not, obviously not the permanent position. This is just kind of mocking it up at the moment. It's not too low, but it's definitely lower than the rest of the car. It's about as low as the rear subframe back there, so it's not great because it's in the middle of the car, but I think it'll be okay. We'll give this a go. I have not braced it anywhere else except for the exhaust manifold, so I'll have to add some kind of mount somewhere in there.